All right. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, citizens of YouTube. This is Pastor Dowd. I'm going to go ahead and, while I'm sitting here at the desk, make this Hebrew Israelite series number 12. And let's go ahead and jump right over into it, okay? All right, now listen to me very closely. It's impossible, virtually impossible, to sit up there and try to believe, anyone to believe that they can sit and walk history from Bereshit all the way to Hazun. That means from Genesis to Revelation, and think that you can actually connect all the dots. A lot of times when I make these videos, those who are scholarly and those who understand history, geography, scriptures, and exactly what is really truly going on in history, they understand what I'm saying. The subject of Esau, Edom, or Rome is vast, and most people can't connect the dots and stuff. And of course, there are many questions that people have. For instance, if Edom comes from a Hebrew line, Esau, Yitzhak, which is true, then how in the world can he be of the seed of Japhet now? And of course, a lot of people, they have all of these questions and stuff. And a lot of times, the majority of the people who actually get on here and who make comments concerning any of this biblical Israelite teachings and series, so you have to understand that people have been trained in this world today, and their conscience and their minds have been manipulated. It's not that they've done their own due diligence. People are not interested in doing their own due diligence. People are interested in listening to different perspectives and point of views and drawing their own personal narratives and conclusions, and then trying to pose it as truth. Self-autonomy is something that's simply just literally not exercised today. If we hear something that somebody says, it sounds good to us, we confirm it in our own spirit, and we embrace and call that true for our own self. Not that we've done our own due diligence, not that we've done our own independent study or research. It's just that it's what we like to hear. And many people have made the mistakes to use that different attitude, that type of attitude, to actually go out and use that as gospel truth when it could be nothing further from the truth. I assure you that if I say something, I'm brutally honest about it. Now, do I know all the truth concerning any subject that I speak about? No. That's nonsensical. Nobody does. That's the reason why we grow in faith and in knowledge. That's why we go from faith to faith and glory to glory. And I'm sure that there's more information that will be presented either now or at a later time that will enhance our studies, because there's so much that has to be recovered because so much has been lost. But for me or anyone to think that they're a subject matter expert on any given subject, especially as much as history has been twisted, warped, distorted, and slanted, is nonsensical. Anybody to sit there and say that they have and know all the truth, they are liars. At the end of the day, the bottom line is I'm just a presenter of information, especially to those of you who do not receive me as your pastor. The ones that know me as their pastor and their shepherd, they know me. They know me, and they support me. They support me not only in prayer, but they support this man of Yah and the work that he's doing. I do strive to do whatever I can to make sure that I'm biblically sound. Not only that, not just sit here and give you words. Pastor Dow lives the gospel. Pastor Dow practices, as the old proverbial saying, going what he preaches. When you see my YouTube videos and some of the things we allow to let you in on concerning our community, we live it. If you preach the gospel, you should live it. And that's the difference between me and a lot of people. I think that you will have some measure of understanding what it means to be an Israelite, being in the cities. But I don't think that you're really truly going to understand what it truly means to be a shepherd and to be set apart and away from all these distractions right here until you actually live this thing. Really truly live it. And I'm following the blueprint of not only my ancient people, but also that was laid out there in the book of Acts. But anyway, with all that said, let's just go ahead and go on. All right. Do you realize how many sects of Jews that they call in the world? They say they call them Jews. Do you realize how many sects of Jews that there are in the world? Now listen to me. Jews are not Yahweh's chosen people. They are not the eternal chosen people. They are not the creator of the universe chosen people. This is stuff that you've been, that's basically been crammed down your throat. And of course, through the Ashkenazim, and the seed of Japhet, they've used a lot of penmanship to rewrite, whitewash, and to destroy history and fabricate it. And just like Napoleon and all them went down to Mizraim and blew off the noses of statues and stuff. And what you have presented to you today is what they want to present to you. So if you go to any of these so-called institutions of higher learning, all you're going to do is become regurgitators of vomit, just like dogs regurgitate vomit, especially when they eat something that's really not good for them. And that's what's being done today. And so the minds of people have literally been raped today because they simply are ignorant of history. They're ignorant of scriptures. They're ignorant of geography. And they just can't literally associate, put the truth together because they don't have the spirit of truth in them. You know, you have so many different sects of people posing themselves as Israelites today. And you really, truly can't blame them because, after all, you read the scriptures. Why wouldn't you want to be those people? Simply because, I mean, after all, if he's going to be the God of a particular people, there's a lot of people practicing replacement theology. There's a lot of people that have just literally just threw themselves in there. But the truth is, the facts remain that they are not the people. And this is not racism like people have coined and termed today. And while I'm there, I do need to say this. Listen to me very closely. I think that there will be a lot of dots connected and a lot of conclusions laid to rest if you could just accept this one truth right here. The scriptures does not deal with people based on the classification of what color people are. Neither do they deal with people on the reclassification that has been given to us by the Europeans, Caucasoid, Mongoloid, and Negroid. The scriptures don't deal like that. The scripture does not deal with people based on the color or the non-color of their skin. The scriptures deals with nationality. The Israelites are a nation. The Ashkenazim are a nation. The Sephardims are a nation. All these people are nations. Rome is a nation. The Babylonians was a nation. The Assyrians was a nation. The Egyptian was a nation. America is a nation. These people, and that's how the focus and attention is. And inside of nations, you have different demographics of people residing inside of a nation that make up the whole or a particular nation. So it's nonsensical for people to sit up there and just try to say that a people based on their skin color or non-skin color are Esau. It's just literally what it is. It's bitterness. It's bitterness. It's an offense. Hatred and stuff. But I'm going to try to do what I can to at least give you a little bit more information so you can go a little bit farther in this study. But after all, remember, I just got finished preaching this in the dining hall this morning to the saints. And I told them, you know, we're really truly going to walk this thing down from Bereshit to Hazun. It's going to take at least 2 weeks, 3 hours a day, 7 days a week, just to be able to give you probably the most definitive historical perspective and point of view that comes from the scripture in order for everybody to be able to put these things together and connect the dots. And I simply just don't have enough time to do that. So that's why it takes a series of teachings. Now, if you go back in my teachings and stuff, you'll see that there's a lot of dots that can be connected. But today, you have a lot of people, crypto, and I call them crypto Jews, because they are a subculture of Jews. The subculture would be the Yemenite Jews, the Karaite Jews, the Ethiopian Jews, what's another one? The Asiatic Jews. These are considered subcultures. Now, the culture of these people that are Jews. Now, mind you, remember, you need to know that the term or the word Jew did not come about until 2 Kings 16:6, and you need to understand Judah and Kozeba in order to understand it. And most people don't understand the historical facts about Judah and Kozeba to even speak to it, because they're not interested in truth. They're interested in regurgitating traditions and things that they've chosen to accept. But then the actual culture of the Jews, and these people are not Hebrews and they're not Israelites, and neither do they have any bloodline linked to them. Now, while some may look just like us, like the Sephardim Jews or the Sephardic Jews look just like us, this is a culture of Jews. And then you also have the culture of the Germanic Jews, or the people who come from, it's kind of like a Germany, and their language is Yiddish. It's a Yiddish Hebrew, and the Sephardim is kind of like having a Latino type of vernacular or etymology to their particular words and stuff. But the Sephardim, to save you a lot of steps, were basically the ones who were the Edomites, who were in agreement with Rome when they sacked the temple, because prophecy is due. And you can read about this in Obadiah 10. But who sacked the temple, and they joined in with Rome and stuff, and they loved the fact that the Romans was just literally decimated our temple, took our furniture and our place. And of course, when you've got people joining together, it's only natural that these people are going to intermingle and mix. And that's why Herod ended up being in a place of power. He was an Edomite under the control of Rome, and he was what you would call a Edomite or a Jew, a false Jew, but he really was an Edomite. And so it brings a lot of confusion today when you've got TBN or Christianity trying to tell you what truth is, and they don't even have a dog in the race or even a seat at the table. Neither do you have a lot of these other people. But the bottom line is there's been a lot of there's been a lot of backgrounds. There's been a lot of different people throughout the angles of time that have taken my ancient people's records, the scriptures and stuff, and used them for their own self and their own benefit. That's like King Bolin in the 7th century, when he sat down and he listened to the so-called Jews or Judaism and Christians and Islam, and he realized that Christianity and Islam derived most of their teachings and stuff from what they call Hebrews or people call Judaism today. See, and they've thrown these terms around so much that it's done nothing but brought confusion among you. And so that's how Edom end up being wrong, and that's how you end up connecting those dots. But not only that, John Hyrcanus, you can go read about him in the book of Josephus. You have all different types of historical references and point of view that tells you that Edom is wrong. I know it's a hard pill for many of you to swallow, but it's just the truth. And you can use the analogy of dogs. You have a purebred dog, like let's say if you had a Rottweiler, or if you had a Doberman Pinscher, or if you had a German Shepherd, or if you had a Pit Bull. These are purebred breeds, but these breeds of dogs are able to mix with other breeds and stuff in the nation, or let's say in their camp right here. Somebody come in, and as soon as they start mixing and inbreeding and stuff, you end up with mutts, don't you? And then it continue on and on and on and on. And this is how people end up assimilating into cultures where we are today. And it's hard for people to understand this and embrace this, especially when you've been affected. I understand that my people possess a lot of bitterness. They do, and it's a lot of hurt, especially when you discovered all the lies that the Europeans have presented to us, and they still are doing today. And then when they find out that they were not the original people, never have and never will be, that's offensive to them. Because Japhet, the seed of Japhet, I'm sorry, you're not in Israel. You're not a Hebrew, period. You never have been, never will be a Hebrew. However, I do believe that people can convert and become an Israelite. So when you look at the statement made over the time of the Exodus over in Shemot, and it says, and the mixed multitude came out amongst them. That a mixed multitude does not consist of the 12 tribes of Israel. A mixed multitude consists of anybody that was in that region at that time and joined themselves to the Israelites, and they in fact become Israelites. Just like you would read over in Esther, that many of the people of the day, when the so-called Jews began to gain strength, they became so-called Jews, because of translation has really messed us up. And I understand that I'm going extremely fast, because again, here I am again presenting information, bringing a lot to you at one time, and it's hard. I know it's hard, because I tell you, it's amazing. But when you look at this religion of Judaism, and the cancer is brought about on the world, I mean, you think about this. You know how many people every single year spend thousands of dollars to go over to the Wailing Wall, who they believe is part of the temple, when really, truly, all it was a Roman fort by the name of Fort Antonio. Now, they're fleecing these people, and they're making a living off these people selling these lies. Even a part where they got where Christ was so-called crucified is a lie. And they can sit here and rewrite and redo and fabricate history, and people believe it hook, line, and sinker. But that's not, it is a Wailing Wall simply because people have dropped so many false tears there, but it was never the temple and never has been. It is a Roman fort called Fort Antonio. There was a rabbi in the 1st century called Rabbi Gershom, and what he did was start making edicts. And edicts are nothing more than laws. And you know what he did with these laws? You know, when he started, these rabbis, you know, they have just written truth as they went, because, you know, the Jews believe that a rabbi debated Yahweh and he won. And so therefore the rabbi word is just as good as the eternal, which I don't believe that blaspheme. And that's exactly what it is. But anyway, here's one of the greatest cultural changes that ever has been, which the Europeans adopt. But they really don't believe it themselves, because in function, when you watch the way that they live, it's clear what they believe. But this Rabbi Gershom, the one thing he did was he outlawed by edict, because he made the law himself of the practice of what people commonly call a polygamy or polygyny. And of course, this affected all the European nations, their dogma, their doctrines, their thesis, and everything else. And so this is what they've embraced. But the Sephardic Jews at that time who heard this crap and stuff, they rejected him, and they told him basically, you know, to go to hell, because they wasn't about to stop the ancient practice with Yahweh had already commanded amongst the Israelites to actually do, and he approved of and sanctioned going forward. And it's obvious that the scriptures never calls polygyny adultery, and nor does it ever call it sin. It was our culture then, and it's still our culture now, whether people like it or not. But you got these people that have had influences of these European nations and all these other bastard nations and all these other nations who want to be Hebrews and want to be Israelites, trying to tell us what truth is based on the opinion of some rabbi who've actually started making edicts and laws. If you don't believe me, go check it out for yourself. And that's what most of you won't do. And so that's why these European nations, you know, they can't even live what this rabbi is, even though he passed an edict and a law, and it's not sanctioned by nobody but himself. And they chose to live that lifestyle and to be that way. They can't even practice it, because Rome practiced serial polygamy besides decadent and debauchery and everything else when it comes to every sinful practice. And it's obvious that one of the problems when you read in a renewed covenant was temple prostitutions and stuff, and people becoming one with a whore. And that's just a bad situation, a bad thing. And that's the reason why people's minds are so fragmented today. And I understand that I am presenting and throwing a lot of truth to people right here. But those who choose to hear, they'll hear. And those who don't, they won't. I'm amazed how many people have so many different diversities of opinion. But hey, if you have the humility and the honor, you can actually understand what I'm saying and receive it. But most of you, you've been preaching lies and teaching lies for so long that saving face has become a high commodity. And you're not about to humble yourself and acknowledge the truth and then repent and turn from your wicked way, because you're committed to your lies. You're committed to your fabrication. You're committed, and you cannot change. And so therefore, you know better than the modern day scribes and Pharisees and hypocrites. I think I'll go ahead and end it right there, because I just dropped an extraordinary amount of historical truth in just a short period of time. I'm sure I could probably go on and on and on. I'm more likely I will. Y'all stay tuned. But other than that, y'all have a blessed day. I really got to get out here, because some of us, as Israelites, we work for a living. And some of us, we don't.